Hey everybody, good morning, good morning. So, I trust and pray that everybody is doing well, that they are highly favored of the Lord. As you know, we are coming into the end of the year. We only have a few days left, couple of weeks, maybe 3 left, and before 2024 is a memory, a year that we will never see again. So I just came on here real quick to talk about deliverance, healing, and obedience. All of those 3 things go together, and I say that because we all have assignments. We all have things that God has ordained, charged, destined, purposed, however you want to say it. There are things that we are charged with doing. And a lot of times we try to do those things without having been delivered in some areas, getting healing in some areas, so that we are able to be obedient. We try to, just gloss over the fact that we need deliverance in this area, gloss over the fact that we need healing in this particular area, but I'm going to be obedient to what God has told me to do. And a lot of times we can't be obedient because 1, we haven't been delivered, 2, we haven't gotten the healing. So in order for you to be obedient in some areas that God is calling you to, you have to get delivered and you have to be healed. And you also have to forgive. Y'all also have to forgive. And I say that because Minister Erica Bishop, my good friend and sister, and consider her family, she taught a class on forgiveness. She's taught a class on deliverance. And I ended up going to those 2 classes, I believe, she talked about forgiveness, and in the forgiveness she talked about deliverance. And it was a Sunday school class for 5 weeks, and I was there all 5 of those weeks. And I want to say that God knew that there were some things that were going to be coming in 2024 that I was going to need to have forgiveness, and that I was going to need to be delivered and healed in some areas, because there was an assignment that I was going to have to be obedient in. And I say that because in 2023, War Room Ministries went through a intercessors boot camp, and in that I learned about deliverance, I learned about witchcraft, I learned about all kind of different things dealing with being able to war as an intercessor. And I'm saying that to say that I had some things that occurred in my family, to me, things that I needed to forgive. And a lot of times, we can think, because I did, I done forgave, I done got over that. But the moment somebody mentions individuals, the moment somebody mentions a situation, we immediately go back into that trauma. We go back to that thing. We go back to that hurt, that situation. And then God will bring it to us and let us know, hey, son or daughter, you haven't really forgiven. You haven't even really been delivered, nonetheless healed from that situation, because when it happened and somebody brought it back up or brought the name up, you went all out the door. Your mood changed, your atmosphere changed, your personality changed, all of that changed. And that's when you can know, you know what? I haven't forgiven. I haven't been delivered. I haven't truly been healed of that situation, because my whole atmosphere doesn't change at the mention of a name. That's too much power to give anybody. That at the mention of their name or a situation, it changes your whole atmosphere, because you haven't truly forgiven. You haven't truly been delivered. You haven't truly been healed. So you cannot walk truly in obedience to whatever the assignment is that God has for you. And I say that because a situation has occurred. And I always say that God will test me to see if I've really forgiven, if I've really been delivered, and if I've really been healed of a situation or over a person or a trauma. One of those ways is he'll say, I need you to pray for that person. And I'm going to tell you, it's been some times where I done told the Lord, I ain't praying for that person. I ain't praying for them. Nope. Because they did X, Y, Z. I'm not doing that. Go get somebody else. And immediately, he lets me know, well, then you're not healed. You're not delivered. And you definitely have not forgiven. You've not done any of those things. Because when I ask you to do that, your response should just be, amen, yes, sir. And be obedient and do it. It is taking some years for me to have to keep going around and around about some things. Going through those tests for me to get the understanding that I have to truly be delivered. And I have to truly have forgiven that person and be healed. And so the situation with some of my family members, I'll just say it took a while for me to truly get to the step of being truly, first of all, truly forgiving them. Second, truly being delivered. And 3, truly being healed. Because a situation has occurred with my uncle. And there's some things going on with my cousin, dealing with my aunt and my uncle. And yesterday I was minding my own business. Or should I say Monday night, I was minding my own business. And the Lord said to me, you need to text her. I was like, text her? You know, not in a bad way, but I was just like shocked. Okay, text her. And so I said, okay. And I was obedient. And I text. And in the text, I sent her a prayer. And I had it where it would go out to her on yesterday morning. I went on about my business, went on about my day. Or should I say, went about my morning getting ready for my day to go to work. And as I was going to work, I ended up pulling up into the parking lot of a restaurant because I was waiting on an order. And my cousin texted me back. And she said, thank you for the kind words. Thank you for the prayer. Because this is a process and a walk. And the thing about it is, the very thing that she's having to walk out, the very process that she's having to do, I've already been through that. I've already had to walk where she's walking. So I know the frustrations. I understand everything that she's going through. So then I responded back to her. And in responding back to her, God began to minister to her. I have no idea what has been going on, what she has been doing at night. But I will say this morning, when I looked at her response to the final text that I sent her, she said, my, what an on-time word. She said, God, I thank you for using Sonia this morning. I had no idea whatsoever what she was going through as far as what she was telling God. And then in the text she said, I feel encouraged to run on. And I'm saying all that to say, what if I had not truly forgiven? What if I had not truly gotten delivered? What if I had not truly been healed? I would not have been able to be obedient to do the assignment that God told me to do, because I would have been like, I don't think so, God. They done did all this to me. I am not doing none of that. I am not going to do that. But because I have truly forgiven, truly been delivered, truly been healed, I was able to walk in obedience. But I was only able to do that because, first of all, God started last year when he had my ministry go through an intercessor boot camp and giving me things that I needed to know about witchcraft, the demonic, being an intercessor, being a warrior, the books that I needed to read on deliverance, the books that, those things that I needed to know. And then he had me go and take the Sunday school class with Minister Bishop that talked about forgiveness. And in that class, she touched on being delivered. God did all of that because he knew that this day I was going to have to minister to somebody that I needed to have truly forgiven, truly been delivered and healed in order to minister to somebody that had treated me wrong, talked all about me, done some things to me, whatever. But I had to be in a place so that I would be able to be obedient. And that's one of the things that God reminded me of on today. This morning when he had me read, after I did the reading that he told me to do for this month, he took me to 1 Kings, the 13th chapter, and he had me to read that chapter. And in that chapter, it's talking about Jeroboam, and it's talking about a prophet as well. And the prophet was disobedient to the orders and the instruction that God gave him. And God reminded me, he said, daughter, you have no other choice in this season but to be obedient. When I tell you to speak, speak. When I tell you to move, move. When I tell you to go, go. When I tell you to do, do. When I say be quiet, be quiet. You have no other choice in this season other than to walk in strict obedience. And as I read the scripture, and I'm going to do a live on it after I do more studying, he began to tell me that your disobedience can cause you to spiritually die, naturally die, emotionally, mentally, and physically die. So obedience is a very important thing. Very important. And in order for us to be obedient, we need to be delivered of some things. We need to be healed. We need to forgive. We need to do all of those things. We need to ask for forgiveness. Because sometimes we get upset with God when God will say, I need you to go and ask for forgiveness. Well, God, I didn't do nothing wrong. That's not the point. The point is, are you going to be obedient and ask for the forgiveness anyway? Though I know you did nothing wrong, but I'm asking you to be obedient and ask for forgiveness anyway. We don't know what God is going to do in that situation because we've been obedient and we've asked for forgiveness for something that we didn't even do. And we weren't at fault. But it's all about walking in obedience. That's a requirement for everybody. But for some of you, it's a requirement because it is the only way you're going to see God move. You're only going to see God manifest. You're only going to see the things that you're praying for happen is when you're walking in total obedience. Even if you don't understand, even if it makes no sense to you. And I'm going to say this and be done. People have said, or should I say my friend Tracy always tells me She was like, your obedience to do what God tells you to do. She said, that faith that you have, she said, it always blows my mind that you will just do things because God told you to do it. And she's right. I've never thought about that. I'm like, well, you know, I spent too many years running and not being obedient to continue being disobedient. And my prime example is when I moved from St. Louis, I caught a whole lot of flack. People had a whole lot of things to say about me taking my 3-year-old son and moving. But what I want to say is the 17 years that I stayed gone, I never had to come back because it didn't work out. I came back because God told me it's now time for you to go back. It's like when the lepers got healed and they were told to go and show themselves to the priest. God said, now it's time for you to go back so that they can see what your journey in the wilderness has done for you. Because the woman that you were when you left is not the woman that is now come back. Because in the wilderness, I've done some things. I've done some pruning. I've worked on some things. And then he let me know, he said, you know, Abraham had to go out from among them. He said, so you had to go out from among the people because you would have listened to the people and not did the ministry that I have for you to do. So I had to send you away so that you can learn me for yourself, so that you could know I have built you for the ministry that I have given you. I have authorized you. I have called you to this office, to this time, to do these things. But you would have never known that had you stayed in your home city. Because you needed to know my voice and hear my voice and nobody else's. And people look at me when I say, my mama, Minister Davis, she never told me what my call was. She knew, but she never told me. Her word to me was, go and ask God to tell you what he called you to do. So I can truly say, didn't make no man, my mama, nobody told me that I was called. God told me that I was called. And I appreciate that. That she never told me, so that I know without a shadow of a doubt that God is the one that called me. God is the one that chose me. God is the one that is sending me. It ain't nobody else but him. I don't even know why I went that away. But for somebody, you need to know that God is the one that calls you. It ain't your mama, it ain't your grandmama, it ain't your daddy, it ain't your pastor, your apostle, your bishop, whoever. It is God that calls you and sends you. So be sure that you know that God has called you, that God has chosen you, and that God is the one sending you, and you're not going just to be going yourself. Because we have a lot of people in ministry. God didn't call you to do that. You going because mama and them told you that that's what God said. What did God tell you? And stand on what God told you. Now, I've run from some things, ministry being one of them, being a prophet being another one, not just being gifted with the prophetic, but knowing without a shadow of a doubt on different occasions in my prayer time that God has told me, I've called you to the office. It ain't just a gift. I've called you to the office. That's an office that I called you to. And you got to know what God has called you to for yourself, including your giftings, your talents, whatever it is, your ministry. You must know for yourself that that is what God has called you to do. And God equips you. When he's called you, He equips you. He don't just call you and not equip you. He equips you for what he's called you for what he's chosen you for what he's purposed and destined for you to do. So anyway, I really just came on here to talk about deliverance, healing, obedience. And we got to have them all in order to do the assignments that God has for us. But whatever, for everything else that was said, apparently it needed to be said. So I pray that you have a wonderful day. I pray that you pray for me as I pray for you. Hi, Prophetess Brown. And I thank you. For those of you that run across this, I pray that it blesses you, that it stirs you, and that it takes you to a place of going back on your knees and seeking God to find out for yourself what God has called, chosen, purpose, destined, gifted, whatever it is for you to do. That God confirms it, not man. That God confirms it, not man. That God confirms it and not man. Because man's confirmation means nothing. God's confirmation and his stamp of approval is what matters above all else. All right, love y'all. Have a blessed day.